I want to come back to the diplomatic angle and whether, this option of are we heading towards a new conflict. Before I get to that point, Danny, I have to ask you, I mean, there's no point saying, the Iranians don't allow inspections, the Iranians aren't transparent. Israel actually has nuclear weapons and doesn't allow anyone to come and inspect its nuclear facilities. Isn't it a bit hypocritical for your country to be leading the charge against Iran's non-nuclear weapons program as it is now?
Well, Mari, that's a good question, but not really. First of all, Israel's, let's say, long tradition policy has not changed, that Israel will not be the first to introduce nuclear weapons in the Middle East. So next to that, Israel is a democracy with checks and balances, and also Israel is the only country in the world that its existence has been threatened. When the Ayatollahs threatened to erase Israel, or when Saddam Hussein at the time did, or many others, whether it's Hezbollah or...
No, I understand the Israeli defensive posture. I'm not questioning that. I'm simply asking a simple question. The UN Resolution 487, for example, calls upon Israel to place its nuclear facilities under the safeguards of the IAEA. Iran is having intrusive IAEA inspections, as Trita points out. You say you want even more intrusive inspections. I'm saying, why not level the playing field and say, you know what, why not set a good example to Iran and say we're going to allow all the inspectors from the IAEA to come into our nuclear facilities where we have actual nukes, not hypothetical nukes, actual ones?
Well, I would say because formality, I would say, and the legal arguments is on our side. Israel has never signed, and we are not a party to the non-proliferation NPA. And Iran is. So Iran is subject to the inspections and to the regulations of the NPT. What we have seen that actually, while it was a member of NPT, they cheated and broke and violated every commitment that they had. Israel does not have any commitments or obligations, and simply this is the core of our national security policy because of the situation we are in.
Trita, do you want to respond to Israel doesn't have the same legal obligations that Iran does?
Well, precisely because Israel is outside of the NPT, it makes it very difficult for Israel to criticize the IAEA and their inspections of Iran and what Iran is doing. What you essentially are saying is that the rest of the region is at the mercy of the goodwill of the Israeli government. The same argument that you falsely used against Iran. There's not a single report by the IAEA pointing out that Israel's nuclear program is peaceful. So the fact that the Iranians have now signed this agreement is allowing all of these inspections inside of their program is really putting Israel in a very, very uncomfortable position in which the hypocrisy of its policy is becoming very, very clear.
Danny.
Yeah, well, I would say that there is no way to have any moral equivalency between Iran and Israel. Also, by the way, Israel has never threatened any of its neighbors or any other country.
Israel has been occupying another country for more than 60 years now.
But on the other hand, we have the Iranian Ayatollahs. We know that they have been cheating. We know that they are subverting and actually supporting terror throughout the region.
I've got to ask you, Danny. Israel has nuclear weapons, doesn't it? Everyone in the world knows Israel has nuclear weapons.
Well, I can only repeat our long tradition, a statement that we will never be the first to introduce nuclear weapons.
We'll take that as a yes.
Middle East.
So can we go to the lady right at the back? Yes.
I just wanted to ask you, why do you think is it okay for Israel to have a covert nuclear bomb, but not for Iran?
And Iran with nuclear weapons threatening to destroy Israel would trigger a nuclear arms race, if not an Israeli attack on Iran. And that's why the
Do you not think Israel having nukes triggers a regional arms race?
Well, if Israel has nukes...
Oh, if? Do they not have nukes? Does Israel not have nukes?
If Israel has nukes, what's interesting, there's a widespread assumption that Israel has nuclear weapons. It has not triggered an arms race in the region.
Do you share that assumption, that Israel has nuclear weapons?
The Egyptians...
I know Israeli policy is not to admit to nuclear weapons. You're not an Israeli. Can you tell me if they have nuclear weapons?
Oh, enjoy yourself, Mehdi. I'm not going to answer your question.
Why?
Well, because, it's an issue which I, as a government official, former government official...
A US government official, not Israeli government official. Why can't the US government say if Israel has nukes or not?
I'm going to opine on it. The issue is whether Israel threatens the region. None of the Arabs around Israel consider that Israel's capabilities present a threat to them. They do consider that Iran's nuclear capability presents a threat.
Mr. Olmert, you say you want Israel to be part of the effort to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. But here's the thing. Israel has nuclear weapons, hundreds of them. So isn't it a bit hypocritical to be lecturing other countries in the region which don't have nuclear weapons on the subject of nuclear weapons?
This is a provocative question because I don't remember that Israel has ever admitted that we have...
Well, you admitted it in December 2006 on a German TV interview. You accidentally admitted it.
No.
Okay, well, let me ask you now. Does Israel have nuclear weapons? It does, doesn't it?
But let me... I will not answer this question, Mr. Hassan.
So that's a yes then, right?
Which I think is significant in this context. No, that means exactly what I said before, that we never admitted that we have, and I don't want to...
But everyone in the world knows Israel has nuclear weapons, Mr. Olmert. Everyone knows. You know it, I know it, everybody watching knows
it. Sometimes everyone in the world knows more than the Prime Minister of Israel. That's also possible. But I want to say this, if you will allow me. I say this, whether Israel has or doesn't have, and I said I will not refer to it, I don't remember that Israel ever threatened to liquidate another country. Now, Iran keeps saying it all the time to the state of Israel. Ahmadinejad, when he was president, and even now, strong voices from Iran keep talking about liquidating the state of Israel.
I'm not sure anyone in the current Iranian government is saying that.
Zionist.
President Rouhani hasn't said that, has he?
I will, I didn't bring with me quotes, but there are many, many people over the years, including after the signing of the
So Iran shouldn't be allowed to have nuclear weapons because of these threats, you say. But Israel can have nuclear weapons even though you've occupied other countries in the region, Syria, Lebanon, the Palestinian territories, and you're allowed to have nukes.
First of all, I don't know that we occupy any part of Lebanon. According to the United Nations Resolution 425, we have withdrawn from every inch of Lebanese territory. So number one, we don't occupy.
But you did in the past, was my point. Okay, you're not going to admit to having... Let's move on. We're running out of time. You're not going to admit to having nuclear weapons. We all know you do. So let's just move on. In March... Okay, let me ask you this question. Sabotaging their program. How many nuclear weapons does Iran have as of today?
Right now, I hope none.
Okay, how many does Israel have?
No idea.
No idea? You were in the government. They don't tell you that stuff.
No idea.
Who do they tell?
No idea. I'm telling you, I never discussed it. But it's irrelevant.
It's between... You never discussed Israel's nuclear weapons. You can say that hand on heart. You've never discussed Israel's nuclear... You're expecting us to believe that the Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel never discussed Israel's nuclear deterrent? Seriously, Dan?
No. So let me tell you, no? It's not all slogans and sound bites, Mehdi.
Tell yourself.
I did not discuss Israel nuclear weapons. I did discuss Israel nuclear policy. There is a big difference.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. So now we've got past that semantic evasion.
No, you have to...
How many nuclear weapons does Israel have? Because experts say it's anywhere between 80 and 400.
So what?
So what?
Yeah, so what? Has Israel ever threatened...
Do you recognize the hypocrisy of Israel having a secret illicit nuclear weapons program that it won't open up its doors to and won't talk about, and then lecturing everyone else in the region about nuclear weapons?
Absolutely not. You know why?
You talked about hypocrisy.
I tell you. So let's start with the legal and formal.
Yeah.
Israel has never been a member, a signatory of the NPT, so we are not breaking any rules. Iran was, Iraq was, Syria is, and they all try to cheat.
Number one. Never recognized the laws in the first place.
No.
Okay,
secondly, Israel is the only country in the world who has been, threatened to just erase them. There is only one Jewish state in the world. Less than 1/3 of 1% of the entire Middle East. There are 22 Arab countries, 57. What do you want from us? And they're all trying to gang up on us.
It's not like you're just minding your own business, this kind of Norway in the Middle East with nuclear weapons.
Has Israel ever threatened to erase and attack any country?
I think you'll find plenty of pretty genocidal statements from Israeli leaders.
Show it to me.
Shimon Peres said in response to Mahmoud Ahmadinejad that we could wipe Iran.
Iran has every day threatening to erase Israel.
About Iran. I'm asking about Israel's nuclear
Saddam
program.
Hussein said he would burn the entire country of Israel.
Okay.
Assad, Hamas. You know what? Even members of Israeli Knesset,
it's very clear.
Arab countries.
Danny, I'll ask again. We've gone off on a lovely diversion, which you're the master of. How many nuclear weapons does Israel have?
I don't know. By the way, another diversion, which I have to say.
No.
I have to
You
say.
can't pre-announce your diversions. Let me ask again. If an Iranian guest came on my show and I asked him about Iran's nuclear program, he said, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about it. Would you be okay with that? You'd be outraged.
Of course
and
I
yet
would
you
be.
sit here as a former
Of course
minister
I
of
would
the
be,
Israeli
because-
government saying, oh, I don't know, never talked about nukes with anyone.
Because there was like 16 United Nations Security Council resolutions against Iran.
And there is against Israel. And there is against Israel as well.
About
your nuclear
issues?
program?
No.
Yes, there is. UN Resolution 487. Let me read it to you. The UN Security Council in 1981 says, calls upon Israel urgently to place its nuclear facilities under the safeguards of the IAEA. Why haven't you done that?
Because I'll tell you all why. Because we want to live and survive. This is the only reason.
Okay.
Live and survive.
But you are defying a
Just think
UN
about it.
Security Council resolution on your secret nuclear weapons
Live and
program.
survive. That's it.
Okay, Avi Schleim, when Danny talks about the threat from Iran, do you recognize that language? How big a threat, in your view, is Iran to Israel today?
Iran is not an existential threat to Israel, but it is a strategic threat. Now, let's compare the records of these two countries. Iran has never attacked a neighbor. Israel has repeatedly attacked its neighbors. Iran signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel has refused to sign. Iran submits to inspection by the International Nuclear Energy Agency. Israel refuses to submit. Iran has no nuclear weapons. Israel has between 75 and 400 nuclear weapons. So Israel poses an existential threat to Iran. Now,
Okay. Okay, briefly, and then
I have one more point to make. For the last 40 years, Israel has conducted a systematic campaign of disinformation about Iran. Why the lies? Why the double standards? Why the hypocrisy?
Professor Schleim, can you say this in a straight face? I cannot believe it. If you look in the details, Israel, right, has been in existential threat ever since its re-establishment, and it was re-established in 1948. And as an historian, I'm sure you will agree. Israel, only out of self-defense, is defending itself, and Israel has never, ever threatened another country.
Israel has attacked its neighbors, not in self-defense. One example, the first one, is the Suez War of 1956. It wasn't a war of self-defense, it was a colonial conspiracy to attack Egypt. Lebanon, 1982, was most emphatically not a war of self-defense, it was an Israeli invasion of Lebanon.